intended to give legal, tax, or accounting advice. It's just to give you the best practice checklist for your year-end planning and vision and Vantage Point. And it's not intended to replace the Deltek year-end resources that we'll talk about that are on the Deltek support site. For the agenda, we're going to cover, basically just go through the year-end checklist, Deltek's year-end checklist, and let you know Deltek's year-end resources, which also include check form order information. We're also going to cover some year-end best practices regarding subledger, general ledger reconciliation review, and what to do regarding 2023, and then open it up for questions. For the year-end checklist, there are several year-end initialization utilities that I'll be talking about, and Deltek strongly recommends that you do a backup before you start any of these. You must perform these utilization steps only once, and if you perform them more than once by mistake, it'll be necessary to restore a backup copy of your database. And all through the Deltek checklist and all through their documentation, on almost on every single page, they say, do a backup before you do any of these utilities. So it's just a good idea. And what you can do if you're on premise, you would contact your IT department to create a backup. And if you're on cloud, just request it through the Deltek cloud. If you are multi-company, you must run each utility separately for each company, and the only exception is opening a new period that opens for all companies. And when you open a new period, which is the new fiscal year, it triggers the system to set year-to-date reporting values to 0. So these are the particular reports, for example, that are set to 0. Time analysis report, project reports that are related to overhead type projects, overhead allocation, and key metric reports, accounting, and general ledger reports. To set the new period, create the new period, you're going to go into utilities, periods, period setup for Vantage Point, and just basically choose the new period. It'll give you a warning that says, you're opening up a new fiscal year, and you just know that, make sure that all the dates are correct when you're setting that up. Before you begin, after you've opened up the new period, before you begin any changes, transactions in 2023, you have to be very careful. So this list is all of the transactions that you can do in January of 2023. This is the list of all the transactions that you cannot do before you finalize other utilities. It's important to remember that anything related to payments or payroll or benefit accruals cannot be done for 2023 until the additional utilities are run. And the next thing that's going to happen is you're going to install the year-end updates. If you're an on-premise client, the 2022 year-end updates now include the ability to install the update files prior to completing your 2023 regular payroll runs. And the tax tables you will be based on your currently open W-2. And if you want additional information about that, I put in the Deltek knowledge base article number 40609. For people who are either Vision or Vantage Point Cloud, you're going to get a notification that it's scheduled, and they automatically do it, but you'll get a notification email that's going to be scheduled. And additionally, only Vision 7.6 or Vantage Point clients are supported under this 2022 year-end update. If you're running payroll, you must perform quarterly initializations at the end of each quarter, calendar quarter, and at the beginning of the calendar year. And the open new W-2 quarter/year utility resets the employee year-to-date payroll to 0 for 2023. So it's very important that you not run this utility until all payroll processing and absence accrual adjustments are done for 2022. I've given some information here, but the best resource is the Deltek year-end guide, and it basically has step-by-step instructions and additional information. So if you are running payroll, I would recommend opening up that in the Deltek site. And if once you are ready to run this, open up the new W-2 quarter for 2022, you're going to go to, in Vantage Point, you're going to go to Utilities, Periods, W-2 quarter. And for Vision, it's under Utilities, Periods, Open New W-2 quarter. And then once you open that, then you're going to run your form W-2 processing and then print the W-2s. And just a note that the W-3 worksheet is a manual form. And just a note to remind you that to post all your 2022 timesheets in 2022. It doesn't have to be done before you do this if it's not associated with your payments, but you want to make sure that it's in the right time. And then once you've run this process, then you can begin putting in posting timesheets for 2023 and processing payroll for 2023. For benefit accruals, you want to check before opening the new benefit accrual year that your setup is correct and it's exactly the way you want it. In Vision, you're going to go to Configuration, Accounting, Time Analysis, Benefit Accrual Setup tab, and just check to make sure that your pre-accrue hours are correct, carryover limits, just everything is the way that you want it to be. And in Vantage Point, you're going to go to Settings, Accounting, Absence Accrual. And then to open up the new benefit accrual year, you want to make sure that all absence processing and adjustments are done for 2022. So that your run benefit accrual reports, just make sure that everything is the way that you want it to be. This utility zeroes out all year-to-date absence hours information for earned and taken. And if your settings have carryover or pre-accrue hours, they are added to the current year unused earned hours. So you just want to make sure that it is everything is set up correctly before you run this. And for Vision, it's under Utilities, Open New Benefit Year. For Vantage Point, it's under Utilities, Periods, Absence Year. And you must initialize for the new benefit absence accrual year prior to posting any timesheets or running payroll for the new year. That's very important. And then once this is done, you can start running benefit accruals and payroll in timesheets in 2023. For 1099s, the 1099 initialization utility resets vendor year-to-date values to 0 and transfers those balances from the paid this year field in the vendor hub or the vendor info center to the paid last year field, which is the field used for the 1099s. And prior to running this utility, you want to make sure that you complete all accounts payable payment processing adjustments and accounts payable disbursements for 2022, because that's all going to affect the totals. You're going to run this 1099 initialization and you'll get an error message or a warning message that tells you what is going to happen here. And ask you, make sure you want to proceed. And then after the 1099 initialization, you can begin processing accounts payable payments and accounts payable disbursements for 2023 in the 2023 accounting period. Just for information, the 1099 process forms, process them prior to the IRS deadlines and follow those guidelines. To process the 1099s for Vision, you're going to go to Accounting, Accounts Payable, Form 1099 Processing, and for Vantage Point, it's under Accounting, Forms 1099 Processing. And then you would generate the work file, verify payments. And when you verify payments, this shows any variance between what the system's calculated as the actual versus what's appearing in that paid last year field. Sometimes things get out of whack, and you may need to research or edit those fields. And then you're going to print your 1099s. And this is just a final year-end checklist. You want to make sure that you process your 2022 accounting adjustments, journal entries, and if you run the following, then you would want to run these too: adjust salary, job costing, overhead allocation, consultant accruals, revenue generation. If you're multi-company or multi-currency, intercompany billing, gains and losses and consolidations. So you just want to make sure that you finalize everything in 2022, and then you're going to print your 2022 financial reports and close the 2022 accounting period in utilities. And this is just information for you to access the year-end resources on the Deltek support site. They're available now, and basically you log in as a with your login information for support, and go to the year-end resources. You're going to select either Vision or Vantage Point, and you'll see a list of both documents, all different kind of files, checklists, and also videos that you can watch. And if you are nervous and you're not sure about something that you're doing, you can also put in a chat, open up a chat with the resources there. They're available to help you. And this is a list of all of the year-end resources that are in there. The year-end guide has about every answer to every question and that you might have, and more that you don't really need to know about. It's pretty robust, and I would definitely recommend, if you have any questions, that you use that year-end guide. The other checklists are really just checklists, just to kind of keep you on track of what you want to know. But all the information from all the checklists is listed in the year-end guide. And the rest of the slides are some best practices for month ends as well as year-end reconciliations. I like to recommend to my clients that they run the file reconciliation report just to make sure that your accounts receivable, accounts payable, work in progress, year-to-date direct and indirect revenue and expenses are all tying out. It basically shows you what the subsidiary ledgers are against your general ledger. And in Vision, this is under Utilities, Advanced Utilities, File Reconciliation Report. And in Vantage Point, it's under Utilities, Analysis. It's kind of buried. Utilities, Analysis, General Reconciliation, and then File Reconciliation Report. If you find that you have a tolerance on your financials, that would be where your assets and liabilities are either greater than or less than your net worth. You're going to take a look at the tolerance report. And in Vision, it's under Utilities, Advanced Utilities Tolerance Report. And in Vantage Point, it's Utilities, Analysis, general reconciliation, and tolerance report. And one caveat is that if you are using journal entries for any of these, you're going to have variances, especially like if you do work in progress. That's usually the most common one. People do work in progress journal entry, so the subsidiary ledger is not going to match your general ledger. And you always want to make sure that your bank accounts that are on your general ledger or your bank tied to your bank statements for each accounting period. And hopefully you're doing this inside of the system and not on Excel spreadsheets. But you can see I've pulled up a bank reconciliation. You want to print it so that you get the reconciled general ledger balance and make sure that it ties to the closing balance for the account, either under an account analysis report or for your balance sheet. And just make sure that both reports tie out. One of the other things that I recommend is that you run a project earnings or an office earnings report to reconcile to the balance sheet and income statement for year-to-date revenue. And I recommend doing this monthly, but if you want, just do it at year-to-date for year-to-date revenue, accounts receivable, and WIP, as long as you're not running, as long as you're running revenue generation, and you want to run it for each company. And if you are multi-company and multi-currency, you may have to use additional calculations or run different reports so that things tie out. You also want to run an employee expense payable ledger and tie it back to if you have that as a separate line item on your balance sheet. And if you're multi-company, does your consolidated eliminations report net to zero? Does the consolidated eliminations report show a balance within intercompany suspense for any given entity? So all of these are going to trigger looking at where you're off and kind of drilling into your information in either Vision or Vantage Point to see what could be wrong and making any corrections. And if you are also, if you're multi-company, I recommend running a multi-company analysis report, and that's under, for Vision, it's under Advanced Utilities, multi-company analysis. For Vantage Point, it's still on the desktop utility under analysis and multi-company analysis. And if you want us to assist you with your year-end process, I know a lot of clients feel very nervous, and even though we kind of give them a rundown of all of the steps and give you the tools to go on to Deltek and get information from Deltek and use their guide, it still is a lot, and you're wanting to make sure that you don't make any mistakes. So we are available to assist you with your year-end process assistance. You can put in a ticket with us to our support site under support@aktion.com. And also, if any of you are still on Vision and you're ready to go to Vantage Point, you can schedule a Vantage Point kickoff or just even an information meeting with us to upgrade, and we can also discuss our custom Vantage Point tools. For example, our readiness report, which fully allows you to understand the changes needed prior to moving to Vantage Point, as well as the designer scripts, which help maintain the configuration and the global report creation while you do an interim data refresh or at go live. And these are our proprietary custom Vantage Point tools. Are there any questions? I went through this very fast, so I'm not sure if anybody has questions.
We had a couple questions come in. The first one is, what year is the initialization run?
It doesn't really matter. You're going to be, I mean, it'll pop up and it'll show you the year. So it doesn't matter. You don't have to be in 2022 or 2020. It doesn't matter which one, the system will just, well, are you talking, which one are you talking about? I guess I'm not, I want to make sure which ones you're talking about. Or is this all of them?
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
It
I mean,
says
The 1099
1099.
initialization,
yeah,
Jody.
1099, it doesn't matter. You can run it in either period. These other ones, you're gonna open it up and you're opening up new periods. So it's gonna be in the 2022 period, but 1099s, the initialization can be run in either period.
Okay. Another question we got was, how long will Deltek continue to support Vision 7.6?
We have not gotten any information. Currently they're saying, it's being supported until they say. They're not opening it up to us either as far as when they're going to stop it. But I would say, if you are thinking about going to Vantage Point, I know it's a lot because, it's a huge business interruption, and it takes a lot of time out of your already busy day to work that in. But if you're thinking about it, then just figure out when you would be wanting to do it. I would think that Deltic is going to give us at least 6 months prior to their shutting off service, or shutting off. Yeah, they're not doing any upgrades to 7.6, but they are still doing the support. So yeah, I would think that you're going to get at least 6 months notice when they're going to be shutting things off.
That actually seems to be all the questions we've got today. Jody, thank you so much for presenting for us. Hillary, thanks for the assist. If anyone would like to receive a copy of today's recording, please feel free to reach out to me. Again, my name is Liz Sidney. My contact information is in the chat for reference. Jody and Hillary will be in touch and following up. Also, at the end of this webinar session, there's going to be a survey pop-up in your browser window. Please fill that out for us. Your feedback is extremely important. Again, if you need any immediate questions answered, please feel free to contact me directly, or Jody's contact information is on the screen. And thank you all again for your time and for joining us today.
Thank you.